Hello, how are you? Anyway, I don't know all the details of the young woman that was killed by the ICE agent. Some are saying that she was trying to hit them with her vehicle. Um, I have a lot of concerns, obviously, about this. I was one. I, I'm Laura at Laura Talk Softer. I'm one of those people that for most of my life saw law enforcement officers as the good guy, the heroes, the ones that are there to save. Partly because of my experience in life, not realizing that my experience, I'm not encountering any situations where the police at that point in time of my life ever did anything that other than be there in an emergency. You call for help, they're there, they're the good guys. I always saw law enforcement officers as a good guy. And really an idealistic, rose-colored glasses thought of they're good, the blue line, serve and protect. And it was actually a police officer from the community I live in, and it was in the 90s that he said to me, Laura, we're not all good. And that resonates with me now because the community I live in has had some problems with police community relations, with police chiefs, with corruption, with kind of a higher rate of police interactions with citizens and the citizens not successfully leaving those interactions alive. Plenty of lawsuits because of misconduct and just the stuff that they make YouTube videos about and Netflix documentaries, literally. So anyway, so I learned that, not all police and law enforcement officers are good, just like not all priests are good, not all teachers are good, not all doctors, nurses, all this like idealism that I grew up with. I'm the last of the baby boomers that they're good. It's, some people are not. So what concerns me about this is, when you see the police, you're supposed to show your hands, right? And I've seen so many cases where, especially young brown and black men, particularly, and women sometimes, lose their lives. And it's been shown that they've shown their hands, and it's like, you can't win, and it's like over the years, so much rationalization was made in support of police. Now, this goes back to the days when those camcorders were first used in the early 90s, and we saw Rodney King getting beat down. But then it was like, well, he kept on fighting and resisting, and he could have got up and maybe grabbed a gun, or, there's always some excuse, some excuse of why law enforcement officers take away a life. And with the cameras that are on the cars and the cameras that are on the officers, the problem now I'm seeing with a vehicle, you can't see the person's foot on the pedal. That will be the excuse. How are you going to know if they were really accelerating or, you got to see the tires moving towards them? And I do know, I understand. I follow the Officer Down Memorial page. A vehicle is a weapon, and officers have lost their lives in the line of duty because of a vehicle hitting them, or were hospitalized and then lost their lives years later. They were in coma states, all that. I read all the stories on the Officer Down Memorial page. But then I also read the stories of how people have been subjected to police brutality. And so I feel like I'm pretty well at this point in life balanced to know that we have to look at each individual case very close. We need to look at this close because you have ICE agents that are they just recently deputized? Some of them are coming with a lot of baggage, I think. Not saying that other police agencies don't come with a lot of baggage. I feel like the people that are getting hired by the city and the department I live in, they're coming full of baggage. So much baggage that the Department of Justice and law enforcement officer agencies are saying some of our officers should not even be law enforcement officers. There's a big debate and it's probably going to end up in the courts or whatever. I don't know, but I've just been suffering such disillusionment in my life that all police officers know they're not good. And this young woman lost her life. I don't know the situation. We need to get down to the truth of this. We can't just immediately jump and say the ICE agent is guilty of something because we don't like them. And we can't say this woman is wasn't trying to run him over because just because we support that she was against it. We need to know what the truth is. We really need to find the truth of this. I don't know what the truth is. I don't know. I know when the whole George Floyd thing happened, if it wasn't for that brave young woman that kept that camera on him as he stepped on that man's neck, as he cried out to his mother, it would be another case of, he didn't make it. He had a heart attack, whatever. They've done that so many times, from the guy that was selling cigarettes. There's just so many cases, too many names. But, this was a young mother. I don't know her story. I heard that her husband had died a couple months ago, or maybe a couple years ago. I don't know. I don't know what is truth, what is not truth, but I know a life is lost, and it was at the hands of somebody who legally had the right to take it under certain circumstances. We need to look what happened. We need to look at this, take the emotions out. We need to really look at this. And if this was done where this person should not have been shot at or stopped or whatever, this officer needs to be removed. He needs to be tried for murder or whatever, manslaughter, whatever it is. I don't know. Each state has its different stuff, but the justice needs to be served. It needs to be investigated. It just, we got to watch out for the emotional reactions. That's all I want to say. I can't imagine if this was my daughter. I mean, I personally hope she stays away from anything that is having any problems in any problems area, because they can't see your feet, and it's such an excuse. Think about it. How do you prove if somebody's hitting a gas pedal and going to hit you? That really bothers me. And the thing is, I shared this before. I found myself, my husband and I, in a dangerous situation. This was years ago. We were driving to another community. He was looking for his special bananas that he buys for a traditional dish. And so we're driving in an area I'm not so familiar with, miles away, looking for a specialty shop that sells these special bananas. And I took a wrong turn. And when I took the wrong turn, I knew I took a wrong turn. And I was in an area of a well-publicized garbage strike, and the people were angry. The strikers were angry. They were angry about people crossing their picket line, coming in and driving the garbage trucks and stuff. And here I'm looking for bananas. My husband's sitting in the passenger seat, and I'm married to an immigrant, black African immigrant. And I say black African immigrant because some African immigrants are white. So I'm a white woman driving a car with my very dark complected husband sitting next to me, and we are driving into a crowd of angry, it was men just started yelling because it looked like I'm bringing him to work to cross their picket line. And I'm like, I'm not that person. I am, a supporter of unions. I'm not going to cross a picket line of a garbage line truck and have my husband drive a garbage truck. I'm not going to do that. My dad was an avid Teamsters, when he worked in the civil world. He was retired Marine Corps combat veteran, all this. So it's like I knew about unions and the importance of it, but it was like scary, and it was like, it was a scary situation to be in. And if I would have escalated my car, or I could have hit somebody, I just we took the wrong turn. What is this? We're looking for bananas. We were literally looking for a special banana for his dish. It's called Matoki, and it's a Hawaiian banana that he was looking for. And it's like, I'm in the middle of this dangerous situation. And then I ended up seeing on the news that there had been people attacked. I mean, it could have been a whole different thing, and it would have been like, what was she doing there? And da-da-da-da-da. And it looked like she was going to hit us. And it might have been me acting in fear of these people. And it might have looked like I was going to hit them. And I'm trying to do a U-turn, But I think about that, so I don't know. I did hear her mom say, I caught a little bit, saying that she feels that her daughter was very afraid, and I could see that because I was very afraid when I turned into that crowd of people and didn't know that I made the wrong turn. But I am really have learned a lot in driving to be really aware what you're driving towards. But yeah, we got to be careful with this because, yeah, we don't want certain things happening in our community. But when we're in vehicles, the police can say they don't see our feet. How do you raise your feet? How do you make it appear as if you're not going to hit somebody with a car? You know, to maybe turn off your ignition and throw your keys out the window. But then some cars don't even have keys. How do we survive this? And then they can't see necessarily our hands in some vehicles. We could be pointing a gun at them, you know. I don't know. I just feel like they're gonna, if they want to kill us, they can find a way. I hate to say that. If they want to kill us, they find a way. I know I'm not part of the stereotype us, but I think in regards to this, when it comes to immigration and disliking what they're doing with immigration, me being a white female, if I'm out there, I'm part of that us. They're going to see me as some liberal nut job, you know, and people don't like us either. We need to be kind. Let's be kind to each other. Let's survive these interactions with law enforcement officers. Have a good day.